Welcome, everybody, to the Sin Adventure. I'm James Showers, cleanest name in the biz, and today we are joined with Thrive Glow. So, for everyone out there who doesn't know who are you, what's your brand, and what kind of products are you offering?
I'm Danielle Reese. I run Thrive and Glow. I'm pretty much a one-woman business, although my family does provide a supporting role for me. I make a lot of cold processed soap, a little bit of hot processed soap, shave soaps, body butters, bath bombs. I got into candles this past year, and I've dabbled in some other ones as well.
Nice. So, have you been able to quit your full-time job and just do this? And if not, what do you do for work besides this?
This is it right now.
Okay.
Started the business soon after my youngest was born. Before that, I had lots of jobs and careers, and pretty much from the time I was about 14, I've worked. So for me to not work was difficult. So I wanted to be a full-time mom, but also wanted to still have a job, a career. So that's why having Thrive Glow worked out for me.
Okay, nice. Outside of the body care industry, do you have any kind of collections, hobbies, or interests?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably too many, which is a balancing act. Um, I'm a big gardener, as a lot of people know. We just moved to Pennsylvania this past summer. Before that point, we lived down in West Virginia, had a homestead. I grew a very big garden, really into regenerative agriculture, composting. We had lots of chickens, meat chickens, laying chickens. We had goats. So moving into Pennsylvania now, I've got to like build from scratch now. So
Yeah.
this some plans, but it's going to take some time, especially balancing the business. Outside of that, I also love to hike and forage for wild plants and mushrooms. I'm kind of a nerd on a lot of subjects, and trying to keep all my interests in the air is a challenge.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I've seen a lot of your posts of your at least your old farm and stuff. That definitely sounded pretty fun. Are you are you incorporating any of that into your products, like growing anything for your products, or like you said, foraging and then adding it to something?
I have and I do. Stinging nettle, in fact. I love the plant stinging nettle for nutritionally, eating it, medicinally, and I've infused it in oils and I've used it in my Slippy Hippie bar. Um, I, of course, use goat milk, although I'm now getting it from a local lady who has goats. Trying to think of some other things right off the bat. uh, It'll come to me. Some comfrey. I've
Okay.
sold actually plants. I used to sell my strawberry plants and my comfrey roots on my page as well, but now I don't have them.
Okay. Cool. Um, is there a story behind the Thrive and Glow name?
Yes. So before it was what it is now, it was my holistic health coaching business. About a decade ago, I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, was certified as a health coach, and had that business going. I used it more. I did have some clients, but I ended up working for a CSA, natural growing vegetable farm. I don't know if a lot of people know what CSA farms are, but they're like crop sharing. So
Okay.
the community like buys a share and gets so much produce throughout the growing season. And I ran the market, and I also taught classes on nutrition and just health in general. But through that time and those years that I was kind of breaking down um, my wellness in general, I got into body care and started making a lot of my own body care. I had a lot of allergies and sensitivities. Interestingly enough, I got into like oils first. So I got into like the oil cleansing method for my face. I started making beard oils way before Thrive and Glow came about. Um, and then I got into making soap before I started the business. Um, when I was pregnant with Juniper, and I was working two jobs, one being the farm and the coaching business. Um, I was, 37 when I was pregnant with her, which is part of probably why it happened. I was a little bit older, and my water prematurely broke when I was 23 weeks pregnant, which is super high risk. So
Yeah.
I was on hospital bed rest for the rest of, well, I managed to keep her in for 5 more weeks. And during that time, um, I had friends who would bring me stuff from the farm market that I requested. And one of those things was some soap from a soap lady that was selling soap in our market. And I remember that soap was like so special to me. I couldn't get out of my bed other than to use the restroom and to shower. And when I would like be able to shower and use that soap, it was just like a sacred experience for me. It was really like it really helped me.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that like seeded something in me and made me think, you know what, I wanna make this experience, not just the product, but I wanna have, make this experience for other people. So that definitely seeded something in me. And then by the time I had Juniper and I got home, I just really started nerding out on everything about making soap. Funny enough, the Nerdy Farmer's Wife book, I know that Deb from uh, Birds of Valhalla, I heard that she also started with that book. That
Yeah.
was one of my first books as well. Um, and I just studied everything from every fatty acid, how to stack fatty acids in soap, what makes a good soap. And interestingly enough, I never used anybody else's recipe to start off. The very first time I made cold processed soap, it was my own recipe that I made myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the story.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a interesting story. Definitely, kind of has almost like a little bit more personal meaning to you, I feel like, and it does incorporate, what you're doing a little bit more of that holistic, I wouldn't say medicine, but like holistic approach.
Yeah, and in that world, it's all about kind of looking deeper into things and how things are made. And I think that across the board, people have become a little bit more distrustful of industry and how things are made.
Yeah.
Um, and I definitely became part of that. And so I wanted to make sure that what I put on my body was safe, what I put in my body was safe. And I knew there was other people that valued that as well. Uh, the other thing I find interesting is I've had customers reach out to me and tell me about how using my soap is like this different experience for them. Like it helps them emotionally. And when I first was hearing this, I kind of was like, are they just kind of exaggerating? But then I remembered when I was in the hospital and how that felt for me, how a soap can feel unique and smell unique, and how just like taking a shower, especially as a parent, sometimes is your only time that you have alone. And it's a ritual, it's a ritual. And I made the whole cleanliness is next to holiness. And
Yeah.
and and then I kind of got it why for some people soap, and body products can be more than just what meets the surface.
Yeah, I think it's cool that body care products have been exploding so much on the scene. Like people are like collecting them and really getting involved. It's not just buy a soap to use in the shower, like you said. It's the full experience. And I used to have this boss, and he'd always say, like, at the end of the day, you take a shower, and your day would wash down the drain. And so it's kind of that same thing, you know what I mean? Just get it all off you. Enjoy your evening after that. So, like you said, it kind of has that, like,
Exactly.
freeing experience, kind of.
Hmm.
So, what kind of process goes into creating and choosing the scents for your products?
Well, some of those scents and choices are my own personal preferences. But others aren't. I really try to listen to my customers and what they're liking and what they want to see. Sometimes I've made soaps that are directly because a customer said, "Hey, can you make this?"
Yeah.
And, if I have the time and the funds to seek out the scents, I try to accommodate when I can. There's some soaps that I personally don't like, but I make just because, there's customers that do.
Yeah. Are you are you just grabbing like fragrance oils, or are you actually doing like your own blends and mixes sometimes, or a combination of
It's a
both?
mix. I would say half and half. Some are pre-made by experts that know what they're doing, and some I want to do blending. My essential oil soaps, I blend a lot. Druid Magic, which is about 90% essential oil and a little bit of fragrance. That's one I've blended myself. Um, and I know I watched Andy and funny enough, my blending, I do a similar thing. I take a cotton ball in a glass and I do a dropper, one drop, two drops, and I write it down and then I come back and I smell it. Same thing. Um, yeah.
Kind of like almost kind of like a little science experiment.
Experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. um, so, what kind of obstacles have you had to overcome starting this brand?
Um, Expectations in business. I think a lot of times soap makers get into it because they love the craft and the making of the soap, and that's definitely what gets you in and often will keep you in. But the reality is that you spend more of your time doing administrative work and marketing because you have to sell that
Yeah.
soap. Um, I've never considered myself a natural salesperson, even though in the past I challenged myself and got into high end sales just to try to get better at sales. But it's not my happy place. It's not. I like to be doing the art, and crafting the recipes and coming up with ideas.
So, if you started over right now, what would you have done differently?
Interesting. Um, as much as I love Thrive and Glow and the name and what it represents to me, I don't know that it always picks up in the soap community compared to a lot of other like flashy names.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have thought that, but I had my Thrive and Glow business and I just wanted to extend it over. So maybe I would have, I don't know what it would have been, but maybe I would have changed that. Um, when I first got going, I only used essential oils. I did have this idea that essential oils were the safest and the best, and that's all I use. But being who I am, I keep digging and learning, and realized, oh, that's actually not fully true. There's actually really premium, good fragrances that are skin safe, that are actually more tested than a lot of essential oils, and that a lot of essential oils aren't as skin safe and have to be used. And I knew some of them had to be used in really, low levels. So that definitely was a shift in perspective. And I had to fully be able to see that and buy it to then be able to make the transition and teach that to my customers as well.
Nice. Yeah, there's definitely grades to the fragrance oils out there, which I think you probably already know. Um, some of those lower grades ones just are not good at all.
Nope.
Not
Nope.
not a fan.
Not a fan. And whenever I smell, it's always those ones that kind of hit you and are kind of obnoxious smelling and give you a headache. And
Yes.
yeah,
I have a few of those in my collection where I'm just like, what were these people thinking? This doesn't smell anything like described. And then, yeah, I don't even want to try it because hours later, I'm still got a little headache from the scent. So,
yeah. Of course,
um,
it's when you walk by certain places in the mall. Yeah.
yeah. So, what kind of milestones or moments of success do you feel like you've had that stick out to you?
Let's see. Well, the last couple of years, every year I've been able to grow the business and profit more. Um, the last couple of years, when I got introduced to the soap fanboys, fangirl groups, is definitely able to see where I could market out a little bit differently. So that definitely grew business out. I used to do a lot more like in-person craft shows, and I enjoy doing that, but there's a lot of work to that. So the fact that I can 95% of my sales are online is really convenient for me and my family. 'Cause
Yeah.
craft shows is a lot of work. It's a lot of packing up and packing in, and you don't know how well they're gonna go. And
Yeah, that'd probably be a bummer. How have you done a few shows where you went and like nobody even went to the booth or bought anything, and you were just like, I
or very
paid for this?
yeah, and you're just like, oh gosh, how much you're doing the math of how much the table cost you, how many hours you were there, and you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. So what kind of like learning curve or skills have you needed to acquire to run this business?
Um, the most challenging has been just learning business, because I didn't go to school for business. So every year I'm learning more and more about how I need to run the business part, especially when it's time to file taxes. And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to account for that too. So this year has been especially challenging because moving to PA, I had to dissolve the business and my LLC, you know, my number there. What's it called? The
EIN?
yeah. So I had to dissolve that and reinstate it in PA with a new EIN. So I have to account for that, as well as all other challenges. Just personally buying a house, you know how that changes your taxes, and my husband's job changed. So yeah.
So what kind of process goes into creating and testing products before you release them?
Well, whenever, as far as scent goes, depending on if I am using a fragrance on its own or I've decided to blend, there's a whole process that goes into that. I do a lot of research on scent, even if it's, a premium, high quality, safe scent. I want to know how well it holds up, how well it performs. I read a lot of reviews on the scents. Then I go into crafting my recipes. I'm not one of those soap makers that has one recipe and sticks with it. I have lots of recipes. In fact, let me show you my book of recipes. A couple years ago, I decided I needed to start printing my recipes because I was saving them all online.
Yeah.
Now, lots of recipes.
Yeah.
And I have to decide how I want that soap to perform, what qualities I'm looking for that, and then I stack my fatty acids accordingly. And who I'm, wanting to sell this soap to. I know there's customers who really love tallow-based soaps and love how they perform. And then I know there are those that love the plant-based oils, and they want to just feel good about it saying plant-based. So, and I personally love soaping with lard. I know some people don't like the word lard, but let me tell you, as Diane from Mountain Goat will agree with me, lard makes such good soap. So I decide what my base fats are going to be, and then I stack them accordingly. And if it's a recipe I've never tried before, I can make a small batch, see how the scent holds up, all that.
Nice. Yeah. One of the things that stands out to me in your brand and with your soap is your ingredients, actually. You always end up packing these bars with so much. Does every bar have was it Tussa Silk? Is that how you pronounce that?
Tussa Silk?
Yeah.
Not every bar, but I have been putting it in a lot lately because I really like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it adds like a silkiness and a shiny quality to the bar. And it's such an easy thing to add into my lye water and dissolves. Now, with that said, Tussa Silk does technically come from a moth. So I don't know that I can call it vegan. So when I put Tussa Silk in a soap, I don't call it vegan because is like a byproduct of an insect. Um, but we actually, I forgot what the moth is called. The great, oh my gosh, we had one anyways. We found one of those moths and had it
Yeah.
in a little frame.
Cool. I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought it came from a spider or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. But I notice a lot of the soaps that I get that have that ingredient are typically premium, is when I describe them. Have you ever tried using like sea moss? I know that's kind of expensive, but is that something that you'd be interested in
I
messing with?
haven't, but I would definitely try it out. I'll have to look into it a little bit.
So, you mentioned about not claiming, certain that bar because it's got the moth as being vegan. Is that something else you have to look out for that's important to you to make sure you're properly labeling each of your products?
Yes, I am a big one about maybe it's type A personality, but I really pride myself in labeling correctly, or at least I try. And if anyone ever sees something questionable, please let me know because it's probably an oversight. Um, but I try to follow all the regulations around label correctness, and I do try to appeal to a little bit to everyone. And I think that's what makes my brand kind of unique. I know some just market to men or just to vegans or plant-based. I try to provide a little bit for everyone. I'm a mom with kids and a husband, and we all want like a little different things.
Yeah.
And so if I can offer a little something for everyone or most people, then I hope to be able to do that.
Nice. I have this Inferno Nights sitting here on the screen right now. Beautiful looking bar. Like, what has gone into making these more artistic like this?
Well, after you learn how to stack fatty acids and make good soap in lots of different ways, then you're like, okay, now what do I do? Well, you learn all different kinds of artisan processes for the look and design. And there's lots of YouTube channels out there that will help you with that. Some of that is learning how to make your recipe so that it's fluid long enough to be able to mix those colors and to be able to do those pours in a certain time frame.
Yeah.
And that's been a learning process and something I'm proud of for my own kind of niche in the soap making world. I know a lot of in like Saponification Nation. I know you're part of that group.
Yeah.
I talk about how I use the heat transfer method. And a lot of soap makers will melt down all their hard oils, prepare their lye water, and then they have to wait for those to get to a decent temperature before they mix them. I did that for about the first year. And then I discovered the heat transfer method. And a lot of soap makers are intimidated by that process because it seems risky, like a lot of unknowns could happen. I find it to be the most time-saving process. And if your ingredients, if you choose them right, you can keep that process fluid. If you know how to streamline the process and have your colorants ready, and there's ways to be able to adjust the temperature. A lot of soap makers want to stay in like a room temperature mode because that's when you can keep your batter fluid the longest to be able to do some of those more intricate designs.
Yeah.
And I myself came up with a way to be able to adjust the temperature even more. I call it my ice cube heat transfer method. So heat transfer method typically will get you still a little bit hotter, and I can work with 90s. But if you add a couple ice cubes, you can get it down to closer to room temperature and have even a longer time to work with.
Okay, so there's actually quite a bit that goes into creating this art of the
Yes.
soap, correct? I love the ones that we were looking at, the flames. You also have like a wood line, basically, right? A bunch of different types of wood-looking soaps, and those look amazing. Some of my favorites. I want to bring it back over here to the Slippy Hippie. Now, this is a very, simple looking bar, and a lot of people shy away from patchouli. This is one of my favorites, to be honest. This is like such a
Me
great
too.
patchouli scent.
I'm so glad to hear that, James.
I think
Yeah.
that this one, I always have these moths in here. They love my birds. Chase this guy out of here. It's one of my favorite patchoulis out there, actually. It's changed my mind, I think, on that scent. So,
Awesome. Yeah,
and
patchouli is not created equal. Um, if you get a dark aged patchouli essential oil, it is different. If you can appreciate that scent, it is really rich and good. And I do add just a little bit of benzoin resin because I like that little bit of like vanilla sweetness that kind
yeah.
of it too. But I am a patchouli lover.
Yeah, I think that's what gives it that extra. I think I mentioned that on the review I did a while back, is that you have that like benzoin in there, and it kind of has this really deep, dark, resiny scent. And I think it's kind of cool because that soap anyways is kind of plain and simple, but it's so deep. You know what I mean? So.
Mhm.
What about these shampoo bars? You got this apple cider vinegar, correct? And what's gone? I mean, this is a newer product. I don't think I've ever tried this from you yet. What's gone
It
into
is
creating
not.
this?
I have had my ACV shampoo soap for years, but I
Oh,
cannot keep it in stock.
okay.
And I would love to talk about that subject um, because I know it can be divisive out there as far as shampoo soap and your Syndet solid shampoo, which I will be making. And I've been working on crafting that for almost 2 years now. It will be coming out this year. Um, but let me tell you, people who use and adapt to shampoo soap, they marry to it and they don't get divorced. And that's why I cannot keep it in, is because I have customers that will not let me go out of business for that right there.
Wow.
It is a hot process soap. I do use apple cider vinegar as my water uh, at the start, and then I use it after the cook as well. Now, as you know, soap has to, as you likely know, soap stays within a certain pH range.
Yeah.
And if you get it below a certain range, it's not no longer going to be soap. It'll become a mushy mess. But you can tweak it to be a little bit milder with acids like apple cider vinegar, citric acid. And I do use citric acid in some of my other soaps as well for a few purposes. Um, but for people who have virgin hair, particularly for some reason, a lot of my customers that have like gray hair love that soap. They say it works the best that they've ever used in their hair.
Nice. You did mention pH balance. All right. With I think a lot of people, well, at least a lot of brands, they market just a plain soap as a shampoo bar, and
Right.
I think that's, for at least for me, I think that's slightly misleading because people will just buy it, and of course you can use any soap in your hair, but it's not going to have that same effect as if you're having something like this where you've got what the acids, right? They bring that pH balance down, correct?
Well, soap is more alkaline,
Oh,
and um, there for people who want to adjust to using soap, there's sometimes a transition period that they have to go through. Some people love it right away. It really depends on your own acid mantle and the health of your skin and your scalp, whether or not you can make that transition. Some people cannot use regular soap on their whole body if they have, a delicate acid mantle and they can't let their pH change. I've met one customer who buys my stuff for her family, but she's been through like extensive chemo and it's messed with her skin, and so she can't use soap at all. But that's not the most common.
yeah.
Uh, and up until, what, the 1950s, the 1960s, we used soap in our hair. That's how we washed our hair. Um, a lot of people that if they've just used regular shampoo and that pH balance, they're not going to be able to make the transition, and that's fine. Especially if they color treat their hair, because color treating your hair damages your cuticle, lifts it, and when you use, conventional shampoo and conditioner, it'll put these cones it'll fix the little patches, the little damages in your hair. And when you start using shampoo soap in your hair, it'll start pulling that off and your hair will feel rough.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what you're looking for.
Okay. What kind of goals or ambitions have you set for yourself on this brand?
Good question. My goal is to be able to run the business and be able to keep all the other balls in the air when it comes to my life, to keep it profitable in a more steady pattern through the year, because as you probably could imagine, there's certain times of year, especially the holidays, where we're working lots of hours, make and bake, and then there is dry months. So trying to kind of keep a more steady pace, and learn my market well, and be able to keep a good balance between family and business. That's my ultimate goal, is to be able to keep it profitable and manageable with the rest of my life.
Nice. Yeah, that's got to definitely be hard. I mean, you obviously spend quite a bit of time, not just making the soaps, but like I said, managing the website, getting the word out, right? I think you also
Yes.
have a Facebook group, correct?
Yeah, my Facebook group. Yeah, all the pieces. I design my own labels. I print my own labels. I package all myself. My kids sometimes will help me with packaging, which is nice. But yeah, the marketing, all of the accounting, it's all on me. Um, and it's a lot. And like I've been whining about for the last few weeks, the tax time. I swear, every tax year, every year, I'm like, that's it. I'm getting out of business.
I'm done.
I'm like a child having a tizzy fit on the floor, I swear.
Yeah, I don't think any of us like this time of year. That's the worst. Taxes suck.
It is.
So what kind of advice would you have for anyone looking to start a brand or has already started a brand that's, still kind of taking off?
If you're getting into it, I would say learn the soap making process well. Get a lot of batches under your belt before you try selling. Share with family and friends, and learn all the label requirements and what you can say and can't say about soap. And know that you're going to spend a lot more time trying to sell your soap than making soap. So you're going to need to be able to market, even if you don't love it. um, yeah, and know that there's a lot. It's a pretty saturated market as well.
Yeah.
It's not easy out there.
So, what would you say to somebody that hasn't tried your soaps or your products yet that would, convince them to come over and check you out?
Well, I try to make a little something for everyone. To reach out to me if they have specific things that they like, I might be able to point them in the right direction. If they're looking for skin safety, that's the most important thing for me. I know the term natural is used a lot, and I try to stay away from that term because it's not a regulated term. And so I like to vouch for safety. And I can prove through my whole process, from my ingredients to my end product, that it's a safe product. And I keep a pretty high standard when it comes to that. So if those kind of values match up, give my soap a try. And if they've never used cold processed soap, make sure that you dry your soap out in between use. I know, especially with kids who like to drop the soap in the bathtub and let it become a mush. How you handle it and take care of your soap really lengthens, how long your soap will last. I actually think that those who have like 3 to 5, 10 soaps in their shower at one time, have something going on there, because if you can, the drier you can let your soap get in between use, the longer it's going to last.
Yeah. I actually like to chop a piece off, and that way I'm not using up all of this, soap at one time. Because I notice a lot of people want to just use one bar and then,
Yeah.
and in these, oh,
Wow.
I'm gonna
A lot of
say, oh, continue.
a lot of my soaps are really big, or really tall, and they're like the perfect soaps to be able to like cut in half, and be able to use, and that definitely extends it as well.
Yeah, especially out there in the soap addict world, people have vast collections. So, I mean, for them to be able to have, 20 bars in the shower, you don't have room for that, for one, right?
Right.
What kind of, we already talked about you bringing maybe like a Ascendant shampoo bar out or something. Are there other products that you're working on that you're thinking about bringing to market here soon?
Well, I have more candles coming out this year for sure. And I will likely be bringing out, back my beard oils and beard butters. They have not been on my website for a year because I wanted to upgrade my bottle size from 1 ounce to 2 ounces, which I have my bottles, I have my oils, but I also wanted to upgrade the look of my labels, and that's been the hardest piece for me because I can spend a lot of time on label design. It's not an area I was schooled in, that I got through into and just been learning on the fly. And man, those beard, companies out there, they got some snazzy looking beard labels or beard oil labels, and I don't know I'm going to be able to compete with that, but I do want to be able to bring my beard oils back for the customers that were coming to me for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes simple is fine. A lot of those beard brands kind of play, not all of them, but some of them play towards copyrighted material that they probably shouldn't be messing with, to be honest, if I'm being serious here. But the bottles do look pretty cool. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think,
Just keep it.
oh, I was going to say, I think that's kind of like half the reason people get drawn to some of these beard brands is, they see something that's, nostalgic to them, from a movie or an artist that they liked, and they're almost selling that art.
Instead of the oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I know I recently had a conversation, with Kevin about, my packaging. And, I know that I personally am never going to have the snazziest looking packaging because that's not super important to me. Because for me, the reason I got into the business was because I realized that what was in it and what it is much more important than what they're trying to sell me on the packaging.
Yeah.
And I want to appeal to the people who look deeper and know that I am just a lady making soap, trying to do the best that I can with it, and make the best product that I know how. But for those that are going into it, good for them. I would be worried about looking too commercial, and not identifying with that more small business look, because I think that's what appeals to a lot of people, is that they can look at it and be like, oh, that's probably a small business, but I like it. I like the look of it.
Yeah, I think it actually has this like more natural, homegrown type feel to your labels and your boxes and stuff.
Hmm.
I believe your daughter drew some pictures for at least one of your soaps. Has that something that she's done a few different times, or is that something you'd like, maybe
It's something.
bring? Oh,
Yeah, it's something that I did put some of her art, on one of my soaps a while ago, and something that I want to work on doing. Uh, it's going to be a little tricky because I don't know how to exactly take her art and adapt it to my label, or if I need to have her actually make something for the label. We'll see how that'll work. But she's willing. It's just a matter of looking at what kind of time she has, because she's a busy girl.
yeah,
But she is a brilliant artist. And I know a lot of companies are using a lot of the AI art, and I know they look snazzy. And I have the hookup to be able to do that. It's appealing. But I had to wrestle with myself about that question of should I? And as a mother who and as a woman who has artists in my family, some of them professional artists, um, whether I can do something and should do something is a different question. And I've been trying to encourage my daughter for her whole life that if she wanted to, go to school for art and get into work, that I believe that she has what it takes. And right now, the AI is coming in strong, faster than I think a lot of us are ready.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to writing as well, there's a whole issue when it comes to books being written by AI, and
Yeah.
not it's not saying on the cover this was written by AI, but as well as art. And I highly value human made art, and I know there are other people who value that too, and I want to appeal to those people. And I want my daughter to know that that's where I will support, and keep encouraging her as well. She's got a lot of interest. She might not go to art school. She's a genius, honestly, and she'll do well no matter what she does because she's just wise and disciplined. But she'll always make art, and I just want her to know that her mama, you know, supports that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think hand drawn art is definitely better. Like you said, maybe it's a little bit cooler or snazzy to have all the AI and everything that comes along with that. But hand drawn art is definitely cooler, and I think that was a little bit of the appeal to that soap that she drew for you.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see some more, like maybe like little specialty hand drawn soap drops here and there or something. I think people would really like that because it kind of incorporates a little bit of your family into the products as well.
I agree. And I know she's watching right now. So, Mallory, you hear that? We all want to see it. She's been helping me with some of my marketing too. I don't know if on my socials anyway, she's been doing some of my marketing. So, and I pay her a little money for that. So
Nice.
I did pay her for her art on my soap labels, and I will do it again because it's well worth it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I think that soap was definitely kind of a collector's, you know what I mean? It's like you don't
Right.
offer it right now anyways, right? So whoever bought it, they got it.
Yeah, yeah. I hope to bring it back again. It was the upside down soap. That's what it was. It was a throw off to Stranger Things. I didn't use the word Stranger Things, but
Yeah.
she had um, she had drawn a couple of the characters, so um, I put them on the back of it and called it the upside down.
Cool. So I think we've touched base on quite a bit here. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to mention before we take viewer questions?
Good question. We did cover a lot of the things that I was hoping to cover. I guess the one thing that I just want to touch base, because I know a lot of my customers might watch this, is and fellow soap makers, because this is a challenge I think with anybody who runs a business, is just looking at what your goals are and what success means to you. And I am not somebody who's willing to work 90 to 120 hours. I know for some people, um, they're willing to do that. They've got their eye on a prize and they're going for it, but that's not me. Um, I am a mother and a wife first. And I don't think that there's a lot of two-parent homes raising children who both parents have, like they're a career, they're killing it. There's usually at least one parent that's got to be more of a supporting role. And as much as I love my business, you know I'm a supporting role. I am home with my children. We eat around the table every night. I cook all my food, and that's really important to me, that I'm involved in my children's life, and that I keep my own, like, personal well-being going. So value my health. I try to go to the gym. I'm a hiker, and I have to keep these things in my life for my own well-being, or I'm not going to want to make soap.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to like lay in my bed all day, which happens. There's times I crash when I go too hard. So for other, business owners and for my customers, there's times when I am not going to talk soap and sales. There's times in the evening that my children and my husband want my attention and I have to shut it off. My weekends, there's times I have to do business, but there's times when it's like, this is family time, or this is Danielle's going off to the woods for 2 hours and not going to be in touch with civilization for one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely a fine line between customer service and, catering to customers 24/7. I think a lot of, at least in these groups, there's a lot of soap addicts that are very enthusiastic about the products, the brands. So, I mean, yeah, that's probably a difficult line to walk right there, where you're trying to set your own boundaries, but yet not turn off your customers, right?
yes, and that's tricky, especially when it comes to social media and customers have access to just messaging you, and you want to be accessible. Um, but sometimes those lines blur, and I have a hard time sometimes putting my foot down, and usually takes me to get to a certain point, and then I'm like, nope, done. um, but I love my customers, and I try to accommodate, and stay personable. But my time is valuable, and it's something that I have to keep an eye on myself of how much time I invest in you know shooting the shit.
Yeah. So I think, we've wrapped up the interview portion. I'm going to turn it over. We've got like 12, 13 people on chat right now. If anyone has questions, this is about the time to throw that in the chat. I'll scroll through and see if I can find some from what people have been adding while we've been talking. But as they're doing that, let's talk about your social media, right? Like, where can they find you? Instagram, Facebook.
I'm on Instagram. It's thrive underslash thrive underslash glow. Unfortunately, thrive and glow wasn't available, so I think sometimes people wonder if that's really me, but it is. As well as Facebook, I have my business page, Thrive and Glow, and then I have my group, Thrive and Glow with Danielle Reese, which I try to talk about my making process. I show what's coming up. I try to get feedback on what people are liking or wanting, sense they're interested in. I am on TikTok, but I am not that active on TikTok. It's hard to do the whole making videos. It's a time suck. I'm not that great at it, and I know Deb from Birds of Valhalla reached out to me and encouraged me about doing this interview, as well as the whole TikTok thing. But there's a learning curve with it, and as you know, with editing, it can really suck time.
Oh, yeah.
And it isn't necessarily going to do anything for you. It's like, it's a gamble. So, when I feel like doing more of it, I might. But I think I might even have a Twitter account out there with Thrive and Glow, but I don't go on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do the TikTok so much. I have the account and don't put them on there, but you are right with all the editing. If you go back to some of my older videos, I'd put like skits in there and like little animations and all kinds of weird stuff. Now I'm just like, all right, video, cut, done. You get the same amount of views. Like, I'd spend weeks on a video and no one would care about it. So I was like, well, why am I doing this? I spent a year doing that, and maybe I'll bring it back, but it burnt me out, to be honest. It's a lot of work.
I totally get it. It was a discouraging process when I was trying to do that. Instagram has gotten to the point where it's got to be reels to be seen. And it's something that I should work harder on, because you got to adapt with the times. But if you want views, it's got to be reels pretty much at this point.
Yeah. And like every day you got to throw a reel up,
I know.
It's like you got to stay in that, oh, she's popular one day, oh, now you're gone. So it's just
Right.
every day.
Appeasing the algorithm.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So is word of mouth, and I mean beyond these groups, is like word of mouth kind of been the main driver for your brand's growth?
Yeah, I kind of prefer the natural organic process of people falling in love with my products and telling their friends, whether it's on social media or not. Um, I've I know that my kids and some of my customers wish I would just blow up into some big business, but that's not what I want. I kind of want to stay a slow organic process where I can manage all the pieces and know that I can as I go. So that's what I've been doing is just kind of keeping it this slow organic process, and it's worked every year. I've sold more and done better. But yeah, that's mostly, I try to post on my social media when I can. And I do, offer some of my products in some small businesses in town. I'm still working on that in this new place, but I do have this really great orchard down the road that offers my products in the fall,
Nice.
which is why I made a lot of apple soaps this past fall is because they're an apple orchard and they sell honey. So I started putting their honey in my soaps and doing a lot of apple scents. But
Nice.
yeah, word of mouth works for me.
Okay. Man, I had a good question, I thought, and then I just lost it. So let's go ahead and we'll jump over here to the viewer questions. Is there a deodorant in the works?
Good question. I've had that asked over the last few years. I'm not ready to jump into the deodorant world. I have looked at those who make deodorants and their reviews and how people react, and man, that looks like some real troubleshooting because there's a lot of sensitivities to a lot of ingredients when it comes to deodorant,
Yeah.
and it seems like once you figure out one ingredient, you switch it to a different ingredient. Some people react badly to that ingredient. So at this point, it's not something I'm gonna try to throw in. I know I'm gonna get the Sindet shampoo bar to offer shampoo to a wider customer base, and I'll be working on the beard oils. But I don't know that deodorant is in the forecast in the next year.
Yeah, and as you change those ingredients, the texture and then the way it feels, and yeah, it is a process.
Yeah, and there's a lot of testing too that comes before that. It's a lot of cost and time that goes into just trying to get it right.
John's asking, what or how do you choose the soap base for what scent you're going to use? Is there a process there, or does it really matter?
Not really. No, no. Yeah, as long as your scent is safe for cold process, and that's what I primarily do. Yeah, you can use it in any soap base. Your process now, if I do make hot process, you can actually use less scent because whenever you make soap and it goes to that saponification, it's an exothermic hot process. A lot of the compounds in your scent will burn off. So when you do hot process, you cook it so it goes through the saponification and you put your scent in at the end, and more of it stays. So you can use a little bit less.
Okay.
But outside of that, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of are there any soaps that you have coming out in the next month or two that are like on the back burner that you want to announce?
Let's see. Well, I have my Phoenix Rising that's going to be restocked soon. I gotta look at my curing rack and see if there's anything that I'm forgetting right now. I have a lot I'm going to be making. Wood grains, more wood grains, because I love to pour me some wood grain soaps. And a lot of restocks because recently, with how much time I've been investing in the whole tax prep, there's been some soaps that have gone out of stock. So I will be restocking Barber's Blend, Star of the Coconut, Black Raspberry and Vanilla Goat Milk Soap. I hate to highlight all the ones that are out of stock, but there's a few that are out of stock that I know people are trying to be patient for me to get back out.
That Phoenix Rising bar looks amazing. I'm trying to find it on here. At least the picture you have over here. Do you have a photographer that takes takes these pictures, or how
No,
are you getting these?
I take the pictures. It's just something that I love to do.
Yeah, they're nice.
That's been a learning process though over the years as well.
Yeah, they're definitely getting really good, very high quality. Got a little blend in the background and stuff, and your colors are really popping. I like that. Um, so you had a soap that you were talking about. It's like a mountain soap or something, right?
Yeah. My Blue Ridge Mountain soap.
Yeah. Are those on pre-orders right now, or are they?
They are, and I think at this point I only have a handful left that haven't been pre-ordered. Um, they are a soap that took me 4 hours to make because I had to make a batch for each layer, and once it's set up, I had to scrape it into the shape of the mountain. So each level was a different batch, and it is scented in lavender and peppermint essential oils, and it's a little over 6 ounces as well. So that's soap that I won't be doing all the time.
Yeah. I noticed when I read about you, or I read you wrote that out there that you were putting this out for pre-release. They're gonna be like $12 soaps, and I think you kind of like maybe felt bad about even charging that from what it seemed like. But like you said, it's taking that's a lot of time going into one soap. You're really doing it just for the art and for people to have it. You're not really gonna make a profit on that soap, correct?
Right. It's really not when you account the time that I put into it. I want to be able to make those stylus soaps because I love the artisan elements. And when I retire, that's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna do. It's just going to be, and I'll price them what I know they're worth, but and they'll be in small quantity because you can't make a lot of those soaps in big batches.
Yeah.
But I do like to be able to make those kind of soaps that have that a little bit more fine artisan element.
Let me see. Find another question over here. Someone was asking about the amount of soap. Let me see. Um, Steven Diano. I think
Piano
he's, yeah.
soap.
He's asking, have you seen a big burst when it comes to sales in the past year? And was this your best year ever?
This year was my best. 2023 was definitely my best year, and I've been saying that every year. But the last 2 years have definitely, I think, well, once my youngest went to kindergarten, when she went to school, I was able to free up more time to be able to make more product and to market. Before that point, it was a balancing act of working while she was at napping or doing what I could when my husband was home. Once she went to school, I had a lot more time to put more work in. But yeah, last year was definitely a big year. And yes, Stephen, I got a lot more sales from Ohio.
Yeah, he grabs all the soaps up when they drop. I've noticed. I mean,
Yeah, he can.
yeah. But that's good, man. I like that there's people out there in this community that are supporting soap makers and like we talked, they're very enthusiastic about the brand, passionate about these soaps and scents, and I think
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I
Um,
know the customers like Steven also like share my soaps with their friends and family, and that gets the word out as well. So I really appreciate that.
Breakdown 505 is asking, how many pounds of soap at a time do you make usually of cold process?
Good question. I just got my really big bad boy mold, and that one I can get. Is it 33 pounds that I can do in that one? I have to double check it. Actually, I have my recipe book here. Probably can look at it. But I've done. I think 40 pounds has been my max. I can fill a lot of molds, but those are usually soaps like goat's milk and honey that I'm not doing fancy designs in. That they're just a single pour, and I'll get my bucket out and pour them in.
Can you use the shampoo bars in like your beard? Is you think that
Yeah,
matters?
yeah, you can use it for your face, for your beard. Um, Test it out, see how you do with it. I know for some people they absolutely love it, and then they're hounding on me for more of it.
I'm searching through, see what other kind of questions. There was a few more that came up earlier. Yeah, I mean, I think we've gone over quite a bit in your brand. Your brand is one of my favorites out there, to be honest. I mean, like, you look at the soaps; they're beautiful. The scents, I think you've chosen some pretty good ones. I have the oatmeal stout as well, and that was actually like almost a gourmand scent to me. It kind of
Yeah,
like, you almost want to take a bite out of it, you know.
it is
That's
very, very rich, very decadent. Um, and I use Guinness for the liquid in that soap. That's my beer soap.
okay. Was there like a product or a scent that was a failure to you that you considered maybe is a failure?
Oh, I'm sure there has been. I have to think about it. There's definitely ones that I tried and didn't buy again. Or there's been ones that I liked, but they weren't big hits with customers. And there's been soaps that my family and I have talked about, like, why don't people love this soap? But I think some of them I just didn't market well,
Yeah.
um, but I'm sure there has been ones that have been a fail. I'm not big on tea tree oil. I recently was requested to make soap with tea tree. I think of tea tree oil as medicinal. I've used it. In fact, my calm balm. I have a calm balm that I use, and that goes back to using my garden and foraging goodies that I use, like plantain and comfrey, and to make a balm that's kind of calming for irritated skin and such. And I do use a little bit of tea tree in that, but it's a very medicinal scent to me, and it's not a go-to for me for soap.
Yeah, it's actually not my favorite. My wife loves tea tree, and she like
Yeah.
forced me to buy like a whole loaf of some tea tree soap a while ago. It's not bad, but it's definitely not my favorite either. Um, what is what would you say is your favorite ingredient or like the most unique ingredient that you're tossing in your products?
I really love mango seed butter. Um, It is high in oleic and stearic acid, so it is kind of a double whammy, and I love it. It adds something to soap, especially if I can super fat with it, like when I hot process. I love the feel on the skin when you use mango seed. My shaving soap, I use that as the super fat. Um, Oleic acid, olive oil is classically known for being high in oleic, and olive oil is so important in soap, um, which is tricky because I don't know if you're aware that the cost of olive oil has went up crazy over the past year, and
Yeah.
it's not slowing down, which is because it challenges soap makers if we're paying attention to the prices. Because we have to be able to get that oleic into our recipe because it's the really conditioning part of the soap. So I'll never just take it out of my soap, but I am trying substituting a little bit of avocado oil for some of my olive oil. Mango
Yeah.
seed is some for it as well.
I think that's actually probably a good choice, not just because of the price, but I mean, it's everywhere. Everyone's using the olive oil. It's not as unique, I guess. You know what I mean? For the people
Yeah,
that like to look at the ingredients, like myself, where if I see a soap base and it's ingredients that aren't so common or not always being used, those soaps stand out the most for me. I just
yeah,
think
a
they're
little
cool.
something.
What is your least favorite ingredient? That I mean, besides the olive oil, you know,
At least a favorite. Oh, easy, pine tar.
not just because of the smell, but does it just not
Oh,
react very well with
it
the?
is hard to work with.
Oh, hold on, I lost you. Give me 1 second, man. Hi, you're back.
Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna for a second.
I don't know if it
Yeah,
times out or what happens there. Okay, so continue. Pine tar, not so
pine
great.
tar. Yeah, pine tar soap is one of those soaps that I don't make for me. I make them for my customers. I use essential oils to try to compete with that scent, but for people who love pine tar soap, they're not necessarily using it for the scent. They're using it because they swear it helps them with skin conditions. I can't say that that's what it does. Like,
Wow, we keep. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, whoops. Hold on. We. I don't know if
can,
I'm hitting something or what's happening there.
ah.
Maybe we're getting to the limit or something. Okay.
So yeah, as far as pine tar soap goes, there are people who absolutely love the smell of pine tar. Um, I know I saw John Larkin from the Black Stuff comment about what pine tar smells like to him. Like, oh, what did he say? I'm sure one of the customers might remember, but it's not a nice smell. But for some people, they really like it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because it smells a little medicinal to them. But it, in certain proportions in a recipe, it's been used for years for certain skin conditions. And so I make it because there are people who swear by it and love it, but I never like making it.
Yeah, it's an acquired scent, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what else we got here in the questions. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm looking through here. I think we've kind of touched base on most everything. Are there any kind of like new customer codes or anything to get anyone started, like a welcome code or anything like that? Or
New customers can use the code new customer and get 10% off. That's, anytime for a new customer. But I still have my showers code too. So repeat customers, if you're watching this and didn't realize that, you can use the code showers. I believe it's for 10% off too as well. I'll
yeah,
have to double check that, but yeah.
nice. I think I added that in like the Sin Adventure group or something a while back, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I still have that active.
I should probably try sharing codes a little bit more. I just feel like, I mean, I have no affiliation, right? And not that I wouldn't share the code if I didn't, but I always see so many people sharing codes, and it's typically because they profit from the
Yeah,
deal. And I don't know, I have
yeah.
my own little issues with that.
I have not went the affiliation route. Something about it just doesn't feel right for me. I like the organic process that people genuinely just love my product and want to share it. Um, the I don't know, the paying people essentially to vouch for my product just feels weird to me. And there's nothing wrong with. There's a lot of people who do it. It just doesn't feel right for my brand.
Um, is there any kind of merch that you're thinking about maybe releasing? Hats and shirts and sweaters? Like
I
a hoodie would be cool.
That's an idea, especially if I do get into my daughter helping with some art.
Yeah.
Um, I know Chelsea Pond. She mentioned that if I made magnets with some of my like more artisan soaps on the front, that she would buy magnets with soap on it because she thinks that my soap is art. So I might come out with that because I thought it was a really good idea, but. I don't know. I'll have to look into. I've seen merch happening, across other brands. So we'll see.
A sweater weather hoodie. I don't know why, but I mean, I think someone would rock it, And definitely,
Right?
like you said, if you were to use some of your daughter's art on there or something, I think that would just add like an extra little touch. Um,
Yeah.
I love the way these Phoenix bars look here in this picture. What's the scent on that? Orange cognac.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. It's
wh-
been very popular. That's why I had to get another batch going right away, and they're almost ready.
nice. Yeah, has Dwight found that? I haven't seen.
He has,
Okay.
and he does like it, and he's waiting for it to come back out.
He's the orange man. He
Yes,
loves
he
that
is.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think we've touched base on everything here. I'm trying to think if there's something else I wanted to ask you. I really appreciate you coming on. You were one of the most requested makers to come on this show, just so you know.
Yeah, I know a few were hounding me on it, and I'm glad I did it. It's sometimes hard to like keep myself to do things like this, but I'm glad I did it. And thank you for offering the avenue to do this. I know that, you're not getting anything out of it other than just, the kindness of your heart. So
Thanks.
thank you for doing it.
Yeah, I love the soap community. I've been a part of it for quite a while. I think some people misunderstand my views on certain things as I've been in the community, but I definitely love this community, and I try to support it when I can. And I think that these little interviews are, a plus. I definitely try to, not that this interview here is about me or nothing, but I like to support these small soap makers like yourself. That's why I've showcased you on the channel a few times and added you to, maker videos and stuff. There's not enough people that are doing reviews and showing off small brands that aren't getting paid. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I just think it's kind of cool. People like this, I think.
Yeah, and I appreciate it for sure. And I do want to let you know that your picture of your hot chicken wings a few days ago influenced me. I haven't had hot chicken wings. It's like one of my favorite things ever. But I had this ulcer that I have just about healed up, and I'm pretty proud because I did it myself. And I'm going to go have some hot chicken wings right now. So.
Oh, nice. Oh man, they were so good. I was in this little town in Tennessee and found the chicken wings, and I'm a fan. I love chicken wings, so yeah.
Me too. They look so good. So.
That's awesome. All right, yeah, I think we're gonna wrap this up. Like I said, I really appreciate you coming on here. It's been fun. I think a lot of people can get an idea about who you are, what kind of products you're actually offering on your brand. And I'd like to see your brand grow a little bit more too. I don't think it gets enough love or fandom in these groups. I don't know if that's because the name, like you said, but I just think everyone sees the flashiness of these other brands, and I don't want to call them snake oil salesmen, but there's a lot of soap brands out there that are definitely pushing stuff that isn't exactly soapy,
Perhaps. I'll stay diplomatic here.
Yeah. We don't want to call anyone out. That's not what this show's about. But yeah, definitely appreciate you coming on. If anyone hasn't tried Thrive Glow, I definitely encourage you to try out the brand. At least go ahead and sub, share, follow her Instagram, her Facebook page, join the group. All of those things help these small makers grow, and you can, be informed on when new drops are coming out. So, all right. So, everybody, share, subscribe. You already know what to do. I'll see you on the next adventure, and peace.